From Central Indiana's number one news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight. I'm Cameron Riddle. We appreciate you downloading our new smart TV app on your Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and now on your Samsung Smart TV. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of the conversations we have every night at 8 o'clock here on Fox 59 Tonight, talking about everything from the White House to what's happening at your house. And on tonight's episode, we'll be a little bit closer to home because the Chief of Police is here in the studio from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. We'll talk with Chris Bailey in just a second as we review a couple of things. It's been a busy summer here in the city of Indianapolis. We've had Indiana Black Expo, Summer Celebration. We've had WNBA All-Star Weekend, a number of events and conventions, and he's had a big task ahead of him to make sure the city stays safe while also getting some pressure because at the beginning of summer, we talked a lot about it on this show, what the teens were doing in downtown Indianapolis. And we even heard from the chief with his frustrations of really these kids being lawless downtown. And so there has been some progress since then. And I think we do need to highlight that progress has been made. We talk a lot about things when it's happening, but once it calms down, we don't talk about it, and we didn't. So we will today in the studio. IMPD Chief Chris Bailey. Chief, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Look at this studio you've got here.
Oh, thank you. You know, we're working on it.
It has to invest like this. They must like what you're doing here. So.
If I'm able to keep bringing in important people, I'm no Rafael Sanchez. I'm no Russ McQuaid.
And thank God you're not those people. Really.
Hey, there's only room for one of those.
That's right.
There's only room for one of them.
I don't think you could fit both their heads in here.
Probably not. I only ever bring one of them in here at a time. It's just too much.
Smart.
It's
That's
just
very
too much.
Smart.
But as long as I'm able to keep bringing in, important people like you, then maybe Cameron must know some folks. We keep them around, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You're doing great work, and I
you.
appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk to you, and more importantly, talk to the people of this community.
Well, as I always tell people, I say whenever I call IMPD, whether it's something on the radio or for Fox, if I call you, you always show up. So I appreciate the time that you extend to me because I know you're a very busy guy.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's start off with summertime. Beginning of summer, we were dealing with a lot of, I can't quote your whole quote, but one of the words you used was lawlessness in downtown Indy. Mm-hmm. That was around the 4th of July. I was working a lot on Saturday nights, and as we were leaving here after the 11 o'clock news goes off, that's about the time the police scanners would start going off with there's a dozen kids fighting over in this corner, or this is, we've got a shooting outside of this location at 1 o'clock in the morning. And that really started to kind of feel like we were on a snowball there. Like each weekend was getting worse and worse. Then it got to the point where we had the mass shooting, multiple people shot. A 16-year-old, I believe, was his age, killed in downtown. This is all leading up to WNBA All-Star, Expo weekend. And we're like, hey, we cannot keep doing this. Yeah. We had a press conference on a Saturday afternoon, about violence and what the city wanted to do. And that was one, implement a curfew, get these kids from being out downtown. We talked about it a lot here. We talked about it on the radio, all the solutions. You guys were listening to the public and the people who were listening at your press conferences and telling you, okay, you guys do have to do something. And you did. So I want to acknowledge that. After that press conference, what happened? What did you guys do? Because we've been having some quiet weekends, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the message resonated with everyone in our community, with a few, people that, didn't feel the same way that everyone else did. But it really was about keeping our kids safe. Here we had a 16-year-old laying on the concrete behind me, dead on July 5th, early morning, and another 15-year-old dead at the hospital from something that could have been prevented, in my view. And we had to do something about it. Not to punish the kids, but to keep them safe. Because to this day, I don't know if these two young men had actually part of some disturbance, or if they got caught up in the crossfire and are no longer with us. Well, that could have happened to many other young people that night that should just not have been out there. And we had over almost 170 officers down there, including just half a block away dealing with another large fight at the intersection of Meridian and Washington Street, right at the south spoke of the circle. And I was out all that evening, but I left 12:30, 12:45 because I thought, well, it was a lot worse earlier in the evening, and I thought that things had gotten to the point where I felt comfortable going home, and I had no longer laid my head on that pillow, and that happened. So, a lot of conversations were started. A lot of people in the community stepped up and said, this is a shared responsibility, and it absolutely is. We have to put some pressure on our parents and guardians and mentors and all those individuals to understand where their kids are, what they're doing. All night I watched people just drop kids off and drive away. Adults dropping people off, driving away, not understanding what they were going to be up to, what they were doing. Most of the time, the fireworks were over. The fireworks were done by 10:45. So it had nothing to do with the fireworks. Those individuals that came downtown to watch the fireworks watched the fireworks, and went home. But we had hundreds of youth down there. But this has been building, like you said, over that previous few weeks. And, we can talk about that a little bit more. It wasn't just our kids. It was young adults acting badly.
So the emphasis ended up being on teenagers, because there were a lot of teenagers down there. And unfortunately, they are among the deceased. But you guys also pointed out in that press conference, as you just mentioned, that there are other things happening around the city, but also downtown with people who are young adults who are part of the problem. What were you saying?
I'm not blaming the playoff run. I mean, that was awesome for our city. It's so exciting. I'm so happy about it. But what we saw is that every bar, restaurant in downtown Indianapolis was packed. And so when you can't get into those places, you're 18, 19, 20, and you can't get into the Tom's Watch Bar or some of those other places that are downtown, then the atmosphere spilled into the street. And so you had hundreds of people hanging out, smoking, drinking on Georgia Street and on Illinois Street, because a lot of it's closed down because of the construction of the new hotel going there. And then it was parking lots that turned into tailgates. And then that became the norm every weekend, whether or not there was a playoff game or not. That just became, I can't get into the bars. I'm just going to go down there. I'm going to turn this parking lot into a giant party area. And it was just building and building and building. And then you have July 4th, which is going to bring people downtown every single year. And this time it was a lot more children, a lot more kids. And we've been used to, for my entire career, we've been chasing kids around downtown. A difference between when I was a patrol officer to the chief of police is that there are a lot more guns, a lot more guns. But the young adult behavior is that's what's really disappointing, because you should know better. You should know better. And there's no curfew that's going to control that behavior. So we're going to have to use strict law enforcement tactics to deal with you. And it's not something I want to do. I want people to come downtown. I want people to go to the east side. I want them to go west side, north side, and south side whenever they want, and have a good time, and just do it in a peaceful way where no one has to get hurt. But that's not our society right now. I mean, it seems like anywhere where you have large groups of people gathering, whether it's in a park or at a bar or whatever it is, that there's something that, somebody makes a bad decision. Someone pulls out one gun, shoots a few people in the crowd, people who are uninvolved. And it's just a problem that perpetuates, and we can't be like that. Otherwise, you're going to see more and more restrictions of public events, and that's not something I don't think anybody wants.
Talk about I want to ask you about the political pressure that you guys were under in that time to do something. Like I said, there were people in this room, people on this show, on my radio show, other shows. We're talking about IMPD needs to do something. I've known you long enough to know that your frustration that we saw on TV is the genuine frustration coming from you when it comes to when you were saying, hey, parents, I need you to come down here and get your kids. One of the things was like, okay, but these are kids.
Yeah.
Somebody should be able to control them. If it's like, who has the responsibility to control these kids? And so I'm wondering, like, in that moment, what I'm thinking is you're like, okay, look, I'm the chief of police. I got a whole police department and a whole city. You guys got to come get your kids because I can't watch every single kid. But then at the same time, it was like, okay, but doesn't the city itself have some kind of, just like if you're at school, the school's responsible for you, responsible for the kid. But if you're on a city street and you're violating the curfew that at the time we weren't really enforcing, who has that responsibility?
Yeah.
So what were those conversations like that? All right, everybody's saying we got to do something. We got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, the year before if people have probably forgotten about it because I think sometimes we get desensitized to the violence in our community. Is the year before downtown we had 9 young people shot. Where I first said we're going to start enforcing the curfew again the previous year, but the difference in last year and this year is I stood there by myself, and that was a mistake because this isn't a problem just for law enforcement or just for government or just for city. We're not going to be able to solve that alone. It's a community problem. It's a system-wide problem. You remember, police are just the first part of the criminal justice system.
Right.
There are lots of things after us that have to also work with us and row in the same direction. There is not a capacity for large mass incarceration or detentions of juveniles outside of curfew. The new Youth Services Center, what we used to call the Juvenile Center that was at 25th and Keystones, now at the Criminal Justice Complex, only has space for 52 people under the age of 18.
Wow.
And at any one time, there are 46 people in there, and they have pods. And if one of those 40 or 52 people, whatever that number is, close to 50, 56, I can't remember the number is, has a girl in there, that pod you can't be used unless there's another girl. And so you further lower the capacity there. And it's never been about punishment. It's not about punishment. It's about keeping them safe and getting them someplace where we know they're not going to catch a stray bullet or fire a weapon into a crowd. That was the goal. And so bringing community people in with us was really the key to this. And we had people step up who said, I want to be a part of this. I want to use my strength, my programs to help. And, we had a week lull and before Expo and WNBA All-Star Game. And in that time, we collaborated with many groups. And that Friday and Saturday night of Expo, we set up what we called a reunification site. And that was going to be the place where we took kids. So we didn't take them to the juvenile center or resources center, put them in the system. We were going to bring them there, have their parents come there, engage with multitude of services, let them know what programs are out there. You need help, whatever, here's an opportunity to get your kid involved. That was the goal. We didn't have to take anyone there for those 2 weekends. And we've had, because of our messaging, what we want to do, the onus is on the parents, right? And there's probably going to be a lot of discussion at the State House next year about, do we need a new law that holds parents or guardians accountable? Or is there a way we adjust a current law to hold parents and guardians accountable for the acts of violence that their kids perpetuate when they should be home? And so parents need to be aware of that I think the community has reached a point where they're tired of it. It's not their responsibility. It's not the police responsibility. Ultimately, it's the parents' responsibility. And there could be some serious repercussions on the way if we don't continue to maintain the peace that we've seen. Now, we still have kids come downtown on the weekend. And there are few issues when that's going to be part of it. Because they're not getting the message. But I think the message has resonated, and we want to keep up the pressure and the success because we want our kids to be safe. That's what this is all about.
In the weekends that you had the reunification sites, are there numbers of how many parents you guys came into contact, how many folks were violating curfew, and what was that interaction like with parents?
Yeah, it was zero. We did not run into any kids that were outside of curfew the weekends that we ran the unification site, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm sorry, I really hate that our volunteers, our community groups, who are fantastic human beings, were out there on their own time. We didn't pay them. They didn't get paid by anybody. They brought their services, their love for community, their love for the kids out there. They heard the call and said, I want to be a part of this. and they came out there and they set up, and there was, I don't know, 25, 30 probably volunteers out there on those weekends that could have been doing something else, could have been enjoying Expo themselves, could have been enjoying WNBA All-Star festivities themselves, but they chose to spend it there in hopes that they could help even one kid. And they didn't have to, but that's kind of what we want to do going forward for major events. It's not sustainable every weekend. These folks have lives. They, like I said, they're not being compensated for these things. And so we have to find a way to work with them and help them and be with us at major events. I had a text message yesterday from another community member. Shauna Majors runs the Brightwood Community Center, said, hey, my group's going to be out downtown on Friday night. We're going to be out there interacting with the kids. We got things to get pass out. Where are the hot spots for the kids? And so I'm going to give her those places so that her group can be where the kids are. Because I hear it all the time. We want to help our kids. Well, we got to go to them. They're not going to come to us all the time. Opening your gym may work for a few kids. Opening your church may work for a few kids. But in the conversations I've had with the youth, real conversations over the past several weeks, that I wanted to hear from them. One, they don't want to be home.
Okay.
They don't like their neighborhoods. It's boring there. Their friends aren't there. They want to be someplace that they feel is clean and safe, and they think downtown's clean and safe. They said that to me. But they also said, I'm not going out without my gun. And some of the girls said, I want to hang around with the dude with the gun. It makes me feel safe. And so some of these dudes act out, and that attracts the girls to them. I was a teenager once. I mean, I get it, but I didn't carry around a gun. So we have some big problems in society. It's not just here in Indianapolis. It's major urban cities all across the country. And participated in a town hall with kids a couple weeks ago. And they even said they need their parents. Our parents aren't stepping up for us. They're not engaged with us. We need them to help us. And it's kind of sad to listen to some of these stories. I am accountable for my children. I know where they are all the time, and maybe that's not a good thing, but I can tell you I do. And I feel when they act out of school, I don't blame the teacher. I blame them. Same thing my dad did. If a teacher called my house or I got paddled at school, because that was a thing, I got it again when I got home. There wasn't this, well, no, it's obviously the school or the teacher's fault.
Right.
No, what did you do? And we're going to make sure you don't do it again. And we're missing some of that.
I just had a flashback when you said that. I used to come home and check the caller ID, and I would look to see if the school phone number had called about anything that day, because I didn't want to have to explain. Because my mom was like, what's the school calling for?
Do you remember my parents it was a trifold report card. Now I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I had that.
That they hand wrote your grades on it. And there was a signature line on the back.
You had to sign it.
Now the grades come to me via email, and I either check them or I don't. That's on me to do that. There's no accountability for it. But they had to sign it. And so there was no hiding. And they could tell if you'd mess with the signature.
Correct.
Because it was on there from the previous years, too.
Yes. It sure was. It should the previous semesters. Yep. Because it was they give you the same card. Yep.
Yeah. So.
I remember that. And I may or may not have tried to sign something before. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
I may or may not have tried to change, a D to a B.
Okay, I did that. That's what I did.
Yeah.
But
I can tell you this, though. I only tried it once.
Correct.
Yeah.
I did it, and I got caught because I left the evidence there. So that's when I learned wasn't going to be a good criminal.
We're 12, 13 years old. We're not fully developed in the brain.
Right.
I leave out a few steps.
That was 7th grade report card. I remember that. What I did was once we switched, it used to always be the handwritten, and then that was right when they switched to photocopy.
Yeah.
I think I got a D, and I hole punched the D out, and I put a better grade under it, and I photocopied it at home, but I left it on the printer.
You almost made it.
Almost made it.
You almost made. See, look, your ingenuity led you to this high-tech studio.
I'm using it for good.
Right? You're losing.
But that has been, I work with kids in schools and on the school bus, and that has been a huge change in the 11 years that I've been doing that. The parents have been a huge change.
Yeah.
And so I know firsthand that you don't have that. You don't have parents showing up. You don't have parents coming to back to school nights, or you call home and it's always this, what did you do to my kid?
Right. Yeah.
And so that too is a big challenge that everybody is having to deal with now. So I'm glad that you got to hear from the kids themselves, because I was wondering, what are they saying? Because we've had a lot of people say, well, why doesn't the Boys and Girls Club do a lock-in at 10 o'clock at night from 10 to 1, and then they know where the kids are? Or why doesn't this organization open its doors, or the indie parks have a location? And what the kids are telling you is they don't want to go there. They want to go downtown.
No. They're not every kid's interested in playing basketball or playing some sport. They want to do other things. And, I posed that question. You have to tell us what you want to do, because there's a lot of people talking. Well, we need to open a center there. We need to open a center here. Is that something you're interested in? Because if you're not, then we're wasting our time if you're not going to go to it. And the other thing is, how are we communicating with these kids to tell them where these things are occurring?
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing it via regular media, Fox 59?
Mm-hmm.
They're not watching Fox 59.
Correct.
The average age of the person that watches the nightly news is 55 years old.
Correct.
They're not watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even going to watch this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
But if we can get to them on TikTok and all those kind of things, I hired a 23-year-old to specifically deal with social media for the police department. Create the 30-second this way videos on TikTok. And apparently, that press conference I did went viral. 11 million views, whatever, 1.4 million likes and 40,000 comments. I don't know any of that stuff, but she was telling me, she's like, this is why I said, first thing I said, was there any way for me to monetize that?
Right. Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
no,
you got to ask.
No, but my point is that we have to, if you're going to have an event, you have to figure out a better way to communicate what that is, and whether or not that's something they want to be a part of. Because you might get 20 or 30 kids there, and that's a success. They're not on the street, right? Anytime we get them engaged, or they're doing something. But is there a way to get mass amounts of kids there that want to be there, and that, one, they know about it, but two, that's something that they're interested in, and the kids have to tell us that.
Well, I think we just at least need to acknowledge that it has been quieter.
Yeah. Our kids are good. Yeah. We have good kids.
Well, it's interesting that no matter which way they found out, one, because they did find the message, but then they also listened because they didn't go back downtown.
Yeah.
What did you get any feedback from your officers when they did come in contact with kids around 11 o'clock just before curfew? Like, hey, it's time to about wrap it up. Yeah. What kind of feedback or interactions were those like?
It's never positive. I mean, it's like, I shouldn't say that. I mean, a lot of the interactions afterwards, these are the kids that we have the most problems with. Those are the ones that are the most defiant. And we have some that routinely are down there that we deal with, that we've even arrested for criminal acts, not just curfew, multiple times, that keep finding their way back down there. That's the ones we have to ask ourselves, what is happening at home? Something is happening there. The one really heartbreaking one was, I wouldn't say heartbreaking, but disappointing, was kids asleep at the transit center, 2 of them, like 3 a.m. that are, then you wake them up and it becomes, I'm not telling you my name, I'm not telling you my parents. When the goal for us would be to get their parents there to them and take them home, we ended up having to take those kids to the youth services center. But at 3 a.m, asleep on the bench at the transit center, there's something deeper there. And, I'm grateful that we were able to get them over to the youth services center. And hopefully through that process, there's some connections made with that family and those kids that try to help understand why they were there that late and why no one seemingly was looking for them. That's the ones that really, that really bother me the most, is these kids that just seem to be on their own at such an early age. And it's no wonder that a lot of the kids that I've talked to feel like there is no hope for them, other than, and that's why they're trying to live this fast adult life. By the time they're 24 years old, a lot of them feel like they're either going to be dead or they're going to be in prison. And that's no way to live. And I don't know what the answer is to fix that. If I had it, I would have sold it and been retired by now. But we have to not always just point the finger and say, we're going to get you, but try to understand why they find themselves in that position and try to help. It should always be our first. We should do everything we can to keep people safe and address criminal law violations. But beyond that, there is a deeper problem in our society, in our country, that we have to wrap our hands around and head around, or we're going to see these problems persist for another generation.
Well, to do what you're talking about takes resources, and therefore takes funding. And so we'll talk about that after the commercial break.
Right.
How you guys are now, in order to do what you do, it's more than just arresting people. It is because, as you've said before, you'll just see them again later if you don't try to correct the problem. So we'll talk about how you guys are trying to tackle all of these problems from as many different angles as needed. More Fox 59 Tonight coming up after this.